Now, coming to the oxidation reaction. Already we have finished with the reduction reaction, we have done it. Now, coming to the oxidation reactions. Now, aldehydes, they are easily oxidized compared to that of the ketones, aldehydes. Why? Because due to the presence of this particular hydrogen atom in aldehydes. In aldehydes, we are having this particular hydrogen atom. Due to the presence of this hydrogen atom, it gets easily, what you can say, oxidized, so to say. So, now, as aldehydes are easily oxidized due to the presence of this particular hydrogen atom. Now, when we are oxidizing it, no cleavage of bond takes place. Listen carefully. No cleavage here or here. Just an oxygen atom is added to this H atom. Just an oxygen atom is added readily to the H atom. Alright? For that purpose, aldehydes are very easily oxidized. That is aliphatic aldehydes, so to say. I mean to say. Alright. But in case of ketone, what you find is that in case of ketone, what you find is you need to cleavage. You need to break a bond. For that purpose, they are not easily oxidized. Here you need to cleavage, you need to break a bond. But here nothing, no bond breaking is required. Just an oxygen atom is added here. And hence, what we get is that, that is, we get nothing but an oxidation product. So when aldehydes are oxidized, what I get it? That is nascent oxygen. What will I get? What I said? RCO, H is there. Just one oxygen is added. So we get converted, what you can say, aldehyde gets converted into carboxylic acid. Alright, it gets converted into carboxylic acid very easily. So hence, aldehydes can be oxidized by mild oxidizing agent also. Mild oxidizing agent like you will be studying, I'll tell you now, Fehling solution, Tollens reagent, bromine water, Benedict solution. Of course, it can be oxidized by stronger oxidizing agent also like nitric acid, concentrated or dilute nitric acid. Acidified K2Cr2O7, acidified KMnO4. Of course, they are the strong oxidizing agent. They can be oxidized. They can be oxidized, definitely. But it can also be oxidized by mild oxidizing agent, which I said it can be done. So, aldehydes, due to the presence of this particular hydrogen atom, it can be easily oxidized, so to say. It undergoes oxidation very easily without the cleavage, without the breaking of any particular bond. So, hence, as aldehydes oxidizes the mild oxidizing agent. Alright, aldehydes gets oxidized, aldehydes gets oxidized by the mild oxidizing agent. So hence, aldehydes acts as a reducing agent. Itself, it acts as a reducing agent. Alright, now listen carefully. What I said, that if you take here bromine, bromine water or Fehling solution or that is Tollens reagent or Benedict solution, what you will find is that they are the mild oxidizing agent. Now, aldehydes gets easily oxidized in presence of the mild oxidizing agent to carboxylic acid. So, aldehydes gets easily, what you can say, oxidized. Clear? So, itself, aldehydes gets what? Reduced. Alright, it gets easily oxidized, but it reduces, not itself get reduced, it reduces the oxidizing agents, we can say that. Clear? Oxidizing agent, which are the oxidizing? Again I repeat, Tollens, Fehlings, Benedict's, bromine water, they are the mild oxidizing agent. It reduces those mild oxidizing agent. Alright, and hence what we find is that we get a definite observation. But ketones has got no such reactions, has got no reactions with its mild oxidizing agent. Alright, so hence this is a thing you need to remember. So now we will see one by one the particular reaction, so to say. So first we will see the reactions of aldehydes with Tollens reagent. Now, what is Tollens reagent actually? Now, Tollens reagent is nothing but ammoniacal silver nitrate solution. Ammoniacal silver nitrate solution. So, what we do is generally, we take ammonium hydroxide and we add silver nitrate solution to it. What do we get? We get a silver hydroxide, a precipitate of silver hydroxide, we get it. A dirty white precipitate of silver hydroxide and ammonium nitrate, we get it. Fine. AgNO3 plus NH4OH will give you AgOH plus NH5NO3. Very simple reaction. Now, these AgOH reacts with excess of ammonium hydroxide. Excess of ammonium hydroxide. Because what I said, ammoniacal silver nitrate solution. You have taken excess of ammonium hydroxide. Alright. To form a complex product, which is nothing but known as Tollens reagent. What is that? That is AgNH3 whole twice plus OH minus. Got it? That is AgOH reacts with excess ammonium hydroxide, that is excess. Now I said you AgOH, from where you got it? AgNO3 plus NH4OH will give you AgOH plus NH1O3. Done. So what I am going to get it? That is AgNH3 whole twice plus, that is OH minus. Alright? That is nothing but AgNH3 whole twice plus that is nothing but we get it OH minus. Now next what we will get? That is 2 molecules of water. Because why I have used here 2 I have to use now, because NH3 whole twice it is there. So hence I will be getting 2 molecules of water. So this is nothing but is your tolerance reagent. This is your tolerance reagent, so to say. This particular, the complex product which you are getting it. Now when aldehyde reacts with its tolerance reagent RCHO plus AgNH3 whole twice plus OH minus, what will happen? What I said, aldehyde will get oxidized and this will get reduced. Aldehyde will get oxidized. Alright, to what? To nothing but acid. Alright, and that is ammonium radical is there. So definitely it will react with the ammonium radical to form a salt, corresponding salt. So hence what I am going to get it? RCOH, definitely it will be formed. But RCOH is a carboxylic acid and ammonium hydroxide you have taken excess. It reacts with ammonium hydroxide to form RCOONH4. That is a salt you will be getting it. Plus, that is the main observation is this. You get a silver mirror, you get it. This is on a silver mirror. This is a silver mirror. You will be getting it on the cooler part of the test tube on heating with. And ammonia gas is liberated and water, we can say that. Ammonia gas is liberated and water. So it will be nothing but 2Ag plus 3NH3 and here we will be taking here 2 molecules. We can say that. So it is RCOONH4 plus 2Ag plus 3NH3 and water is released. Ammonia gas is also released, so you get a pungent smelling also smell you get it from here. And a silver mirror. Silver mirror means what? You know, the test tube will be there on heating. So here on the cooler part of the test tube, you will be getting that is silvery, that is shining. That is one substance will come and will accumulate here. A silvery shining substance. We will do in the lab, we will come to know. Silvery shining substance you will see on the cooler part of the test tube. That is called as silver mirror. So hence with tolerance reagent we get this. So tolerance reagent is ammoniacal silver nitrate solution. So what it does? Aldehydes get oxidized to acid which further reacts with base to form a salt, and tolerance reagent gets reduced to form silver mirror. We can say that we are getting silver mirror. So this is the test which is given by aldehydes, not by ketones, mind it, because ketones does not get oxidized by mild oxidizing agent. Now next is we'll see the reaction with Fehling solution. Fehling, FEHLING apostrophe S, Fehling solution. So we are having 2 types of Fehling solution. One is your Fehling A, another is your Fehling B. Listen carefully. We are having 2 types of Fehling. We both add. Both of them we added. We take aldehyde and we add both Fehling A as well as Fehling B. Now Fehling A is what? It is blue colored. It is nothing but copper sulfate solution. CuSO4 solution. Blue colored. Fehling A. Alright, you will see in the lab when you will do the experiment. Now Fehling B is what? Fehling B is nothing but sodium hydroxide with Rochelle salt. Rochelle, ROCHELLE. Rochelle salt. It is said to be sodium hydroxide NaOH plus Rochelle salt. That is your Fehling B. Now what is Rochelle salt? Rochelle salt is nothing but sodium potassium tartarate. Tartaric acid is there. There you will add, that you will be having one of the hydrogen atom will be replaced by sodium and another hydrogen atom will be replaced by potassium. So it is sodium potassium tartarate. Alright, which is a colorless solution. So Fehling B is colorless, Fehling A is blue colored, which is copper sulfate solution. So both of them you will be adding to it. Alright, that is known as Fehling solution. It's not only one, both has to be added, Fehling A as well as Fehling B. That equal amount, we can say that. So this way we are having this Fehling solution. Now this Fehling solution you will be adding to what you can say aldehyde. RCHO plus Cu2 plus OH minus. Now this you get it from where? From Felling's solution we get it. Alright, it's a complex solution is being formed. So we get it from Felling's solution. That is from Felling A and this Felling B. Just now I said you NaOH plus Rochelle salt. Now what will happen? RCHO, aldehyde will be oxidized to acid and ion you will be getting it. And you will be getting Cu2O plus water. Alright, if you balance it, it will be 2Cu2 plus 5OH minus gives RCOO, Cu2O plus 5H and here that is nothing but 3H2, 5H plus H, 6H. So it is 3H2O, you will be getting it. So you will be getting a reddish brown colored PPT. You can see a downward arrow I have done it. A reddish brown colored PPT. So when you will be heating aldehyde with Felling A and Felling B, you will be getting a reddish brown colored PPT. Note the observation, this is very very important. This observation only you have tried in your exams. That differentiate between aldehydes and ketones. So this is the difference, one of the difference. Another difference we did it with Tollens reagent. This is another difference with Felling solution, which gives reddish brown PPT. Alright, but ketones does not give. Benedict solution, we generally we don't take it, Benedict solution, because we don't have in the chemistry lab Benedict solution, we generally have in the bio lab the Benedict solution. We can say that. So we generally do with what you can say, nothing but with Felling's as well as with Tollens reagent, we can say that. Clear? Similarly, so it is nothing but alkaline solution. Benedict solution is nothing but, if you want to know, it's an alkaline solution of cupric ion complex with citrate ions. There we are having tartrate ions in Felling solution. Here we will be having citrate ions. Same thing, it's a cupric solution complexed with citrate ion, citric acid. That we got it from tartric acid. Here we got it from citric acid, from citrate ion. So that is nothing but known as Benedict solution, so to say. But we don't do it Benedict solution because the observation is same with Felling's as well as with Benedict. You will be getting Cu2O, that is nothing but the reddish brown colored cupric oxide, you will be getting it. Clear? So nothing to do about it. So in this way, what you find is that benzaldehyde and ketones, they do not give this particular test. Alright, benzaldehyde also it is less reactive in nature because benzaldehyde contains a bigger group, that is aryl group is there. Due to this reason, it becomes less reactive in nature. So benzaldehyde and ketones does not give this particular test. They are not oxidized by mild oxidizing agent. Only aliphatic aldehydes give this particular test. We can say that aliphatic aldehydes. Now, as I said you that ketones is very difficult to oxidize. So ketones can be oxidized by stronger oxidizing agent only. That is your nitric acid, concentrated or dilute, acidified KMnO4 or acidified K2Cr2O7. So when ketones get oxidized, what is happening? When ketones get oxidized, let us take a ketone, acetone, CH3COCH3. Now when ketones get oxidized by oxidizing agent, stronger oxidizing agent, that is K2Cr2O7/H+. Now two types of acid will be formed. Two types of acid will be formed. We can say that. Now two types of acid which is being formed. Now this is a symmetrical ketone, mind it, because both the side we are having the same alkyl group. Now I will talk about unsymmetrical ketone also. So this is symmetrical ketone. So whatever it is, that is you will be getting acids. You will be getting, see here it will be converted into acid, but the number of carbon atoms present in the acid, in the parent acid, is less than that of the carbon atom which is present in ketones. Alright, the carbon atom which is being present in the acid is less than the number of carbon atom which is present in the parent ketone, so to say. That means here the cleavage, either here the cleavage or here the cleavage is going to take place. Wherever you put it, because both the side, the carbonyl group contain the same number of carbon atoms. So hence I said symmetrical. So any side the cleavage can take place. Suppose the cleavage is taking place here. So one carbon is here. So one carbon means it will be oxidized to HCOH. And here two carbons is there. So it will be oxidized to CH3COOH. So you can see it is formic acid and acetic acid. But the parent acetone contains how many, parent ketone contains how many carbon? 3 carbon atoms. It contains 3 carbon atoms. Alright, so as it contains 3 carbon atoms, so definitely the parent ketones contains higher number of carbon atoms. Alright, higher number of carbon atoms. Due to the presence of higher number of carbon atoms, what we find is that when the cleavage is taking place, then we get the acid which is having the lower number of carbon atoms. So you can see it here, the lower number of carbon atoms is being there. That is formic acid and acetic acid, we are getting it. Got it correspondingly. So this is taking place in case of symmetrical ketones, we can say that. Suppose you will put it here C2H5 and here C2H5. Let us see. So C2H5 means CH3COH and here C2H5 means C2 and C, total 3 carbon atoms. So you will be getting propanoic acid. Alright, suppose if I take here C2H5, then you will be getting acetic acid. Here also C2H5. So C2H5 and C, how many carbon? Total 3 carbons. So you will be getting acetic acid and propanoic acid. Always lesser number of what you can say carbon atoms will be there in the acid, we can so to say. So now next is, if suppose unsymmetrical ketone is there. Unsymmetrical ketone. Unsymmetrical means that is CH3CO C2H5. Let us see. Unsymmetrical ketone. Same condition. Now what will happen? Here it will be guided by a rule that is said to be as Popov's rule. PO. Let me rub it this one. That is Popov's rule. F''S. Popov's rule. So Popov's rule, what it says, that when the cleavage takes place, in case of unsymmetrical ketones, then the carbonyl group goes with that particular alkyl group which has less number of carbon atom present in it. Alright, in case of unsymmetrical ketone, according to Popov's rule, what it says is that when the cleavage takes place, when the cleavage, the breaking up of a bond is going to take place, then the carbonyl group goes with that particular alkyl group which has lesser number of carbon atom present in it. So the carbonyl group will go with CH3CO group. Why? Why it is in this way? Because if the cleavage is taking place here, let us say here, then the carbonyl group goes with C2H5 group, and the acid which is going to form, the product which is going to form, it will be a minor product. But when the cleavage takes place here, the carbonyl group goes with the CH3 group with a lesser number of carbon atom, and the acid which is being formed, then that acid is the product is a major product. Understood? If the cleavage is taking place here, the acid which is being formed, what is that? I will be getting CH3COOH. And here C2H5 means another CH3COOH. So this is a major product, we are getting it, major product. But if the cleavage is taking place here, then you will be getting formic acid and acetic acid, which will be a minor product, so to say. So according to Popov's rule, it says that in case of unsymmetrical ketone, when the cleavage is taking place, then the carbonyl group goes with that particular alkyl group which has got lesser number of carbon atoms. So this is wrong. It should not be in this way. Then what it should be? It should be in this way. The cleavage should take place here, and the carbonyl group goes with this particular alkyl group. So this is what the Popov's rule says that. From the Popov's rule, we come to know about this. We can say that. So this is the correct product. Got it now? So this is about your oxidation of ketones, but not by milder oxidizing agent, by stronger oxidizing agent. Now next we will come to, that is your haloform reaction. Haloform reaction, we can say that. We have done haloform reaction in alcohols chapter also, we have done it. The haloform reaction, that is your chloroform, bromoform, iodoform. The most important is your iodoform test. You have seen it. That is, in case of iodoform test in alcohol chapter, I have told you that the necessary condition is that the compound should have CH3CHOH group present in it. CH3CHOH group present in it. Here the necessary condition is, in case of aldehydes and ketones, that is the compound should have CH3CO group present in it. If any compound, any aldehydes and ketones contain CH3CO group present in it, then it will give the haloform test. It will give the haloform test. Remember the condition. If a compound contains CH3CO group present in it, any aldehydes and ketones containing this, it will give you a haloform test, we can say that. Followed? So by this reaction we differentiate between different aldehydes and ketones. It is being used. Alright, listen children. The one which I am saying you, these are the tests basically. It is used to distinguish between different aldehydes and ketones. In your exam it is going to come benzaldehyde and formaldehyde, or benzaldehyde, acetaldehyde. You can go for Felling's test. You can go for Tollens reagent test. Got it? Clear? Now, similarly, that is haloform reaction, so to say. So, what is haloform reaction basically? Now here, NaOH plus X2. So, it will be nothing but NaX plus NaOX plus we can say that is nothing but water. The first step, NaX plus NaOX plus water, so to say. So it will be 2NaOH. Now we will be taking a compound which contains RCOCH3, that is COCH3 group. See here, COCH3. R I have just added it, but COCH3 group is being present here. There's a necessary condition, COCH3. Now when it reacts with nothing but Na, that is OX. So what is going to form? RCOCH3. Got it? RCOCH3 plus, that is nothing but NaOH. It is going to form. Now RCOCH3, when it reacts with NaOH further, got it? NaOH further, what is going to form? It is going to form, that is CHX3, which is haloform, and you get the product RCOONA. This is your haloform. Now instead of X, now X can be any halogen, you know that. It can be chlorine, bromine and iodine. So if I take here iodine, I2, then I will be getting CHI3. Now CHI3 is iodoform. And iodoform test is a very important test because it's a pale yellow crystalline PPT which is having characteristic odor. Pale yellow crystalline PPT which is having a characteristic odor, characteristic smell. If I take here iodine, you can take anything, you can take chlorine, bromine, iodine, but generally we take iodine because iodoform test is a solid, because the precipitate is formed is a solid. But in chloroform, bromoform, it is not a solid. So iodoform we are getting, that is a solid, and it's a pale yellow crystalline solid. You can see it very clearly, you can smell it also very clearly because it has got a characteristic smell, we can say that. So in this way you can write this reaction in 3 steps. But you can also write in 1 step also. It's better, I will say you, that you write in 3 steps so that you can understand it. The first step, it forms this NaOX. Now NaOX further reacts with this group, COCH3 group, the necessary condition to form this particular product, you will be getting it. And this reacts with NaOH further to form, there is something but haloform, we can say that. So it is nothing but trichloro derivative or trihalo derivative, rather I should say here. If chlorine you are using, then trichloro derivative I should say, or any halogens you are using, this trihalogen derivatives. That is not important. The important is this, the final step, that is your haloform reaction, so to say. Got it? So you can carry out with NaOH, you can carry out with Na2CO3 aqueous also, because aqueous Na2CO3 also gives NaOH. Aqueous Na2CO3 is also gives NaOH, because aqueous Na2CO3 means what? It is nothing but NaOH only, because Na2CO3 is made up of strong base and weak acid, NaOH plus H2CO3. So the resultant solution is basic in nature. The only difference is that you will be getting here carbon dioxide. At the end you will be getting it if you take sodium carbonate, so to say. So in this way we can carry out the haloform reaction. So this is all about your, that is oxidation reaction, so to say.